Hello and welcome to the Crypto Club and Digital Assets weekly catch-up on Zoom. It is Sunday the 22nd of October 2023 and we're going to be talking about whatever we end up talking about. Some weeks we talk about crypto, blockchain, DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, TGEs, any other three-letter acronyms really. We talk about developments in the metaverse, linking in with AI and generative AI and what other phrases there are there as well. Really depends upon what people want to talk about and what their area of interest is. These sessions are held every Sunday evening, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. UK time, and they're open to everybody, novice and expert alike. So if you're just beginning in the field and you're hearing all these phrases and terms, and it's all rather baffling and confusing, come along and listen and learn and ask questions. If you're running a project and you'd like to share details, we hold our Gone in 180-second sessions. We've got 3 minutes to talk about your project and explain what it is, what you're trying to achieve, and so on. You don't get to use slides or video or anything. It is just 3 minutes of you talking. So kind of think of it as an extended elevator pitch. We also record these sessions. As you'll see, we post them onto YouTube, so you can look at the back catalogue as well. And this makes it a really useful resource for people looking into things that we talk about. Anyway, with that, let's see who's going to come and join us today. Stephen, hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm guessing you can hear me okay? I can certainly hear and see you. That's fantastic. Welcome aboard.
Thanks.
We're joined at the moment by, it says G, so I'm guessing it's Gabriella in Spain joining us, which doesn't appear to be speaking at the moment. You've not been along to any of these sessions before, have you, Stephen?
First time.
Cool, excellent. Okay. Well, we've no idea how many people will show up. It varies from week to week. Some weeks it can be just 2 people, and that can actually be really interesting because it's kind of like a fireside chat type thing. And other weeks we get a bunch of people from all around the world. So that's great. Whereabouts are you based, Stephen?
I'm in Panama City, Panama.
Okay. So a bit of variety for a change. We get people who sometimes come in from the West Coast of the US, East Coast, Middle East, Europe, UK, obviously, because I'm based in the UK. So that tends to get things. And Gabriella, if she is still listening, I think is in Madrid, if I remember correctly. I always get it wrong. I always say Barcelona.
Yes,
I'm always
hello.
wrong. Hey.
Hey.
Is it Madrid you're in, Gabriella?
Yes, but I'm currently in Ireland.
In where?
Ireland.
Ireland, okay.
Yes,
You're not with
but I'm from Spain, yes, from Madrid.
cool, okay. Excellent. Well, Stephen, what brings you along today? Any particular interest then?
You know, I'm on the technology side of the blockchain ecosystem. I am super passionate about all things blockchain ecosystem and their evolution. And I recently started a couple of different projects to be a little bit more vocal about what's happening in the space, particularly in the Ethereum, real world assets, and DAOs. I'm currently in this writing cohort, and I thought I'd just chat with some folks that are doing similar things and just join the conversation.
Cool. Oh, that's fantastic. Because we get a number of people who come on who are talking about tokenization of real world assets, as that seems to be the in vogue thing at the moment. The thing I've noticed, I got into blockchain as a technology layer probably about 2014, 2015, and then inevitably you get sucked into the crypto side of things as well. So I've always had the interest in blockchain, and I've seen a number of waves of innovation coming through. So like in 2014, 2015, certainly you had like smart contracts on Ethereum coming out, and that generated a spur of interest. Then there were things like ICOs in 2017, 2018, where people were using them as fundraising. Then there was the whole thing around DAOs, and they were certainly going around. So I've seen a number of evolutions, and that the current hot one seems to be tokenization of real world assets in various ways. So, and certainly hearing about a lot of projects about tokenizing real estate or precious metals or high value vehicles and that kind of thing. So a real growth area. And we're joined by Elena as well. Hey, Elena.
Hello.
Hey. So Elena, Gabriella, who's usually with us each week, she's on today. She tells me she's in Ireland at the moment. So,
Oh, really?
Your neighbours.
Great to hear. Gabriella, where in Ireland? I am
Yes.
Dublin.
But do you live in Ireland?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Where exactly?
In County Wicklow. That's to the south from Dublin.
The south, okay.
Whereabouts are you, Gabriella?
Me, I'm in Gort.
Where? Galway.
Galway. Galway.
That's further south, isn't it?
It's a little bit on the other side.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh well, okay. It's interesting, just for Stephen's benefit. So, Gabriella and Elena are both regulars on this call, and they tend to spend a lot of time just listening, and then both ask some really great questions. And Elena in particular, I've always identified, she asks the really great basic questions, which are the ones that make you think and really question it. And sometimes you find on these sessions as well, you end up just introducing people, either because geographically they're near, or they've got a common interest, or for the ladies on the call now, Stephen was saying he's got an interest in like real world assets particularly on Ethereum, I guess. So
that and a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Well,
we'll see if anyone else joins us or anything in terms of if there's any other connections we can make. But I always love it when I can introduce people who've got a common interest, or they go, "Oh, I'd like to know some more about that." That's fantastic. So how long have you been in this space then, Stephen?
So I used to live in the Bay Area. That's how I know Tony Perkins and his ecosystem. I was in the first Ethereum DAO. Behind the scenes.
As in the DAO.
Yeah.
Okay.
And been in and around the space for a while, and got a little bit more involved in some specific projects as a fractional CTO for a number of different projects across a number of different blockchains. And more recently, I've been the head of the blockchain technology committee for the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Technology for the country of Panama.
Okay.
And I've been part of previous editions, and now one of the organizers for the Ethereum ecosystem event in Panama. It's called the ETH Canal. And yeah, that and some other things.
Okay, but Panama, if I remember correctly, has been something of a leader in crypto adoption. In some ways, is that right?
It has a couple of interesting, unique properties that with Europe, now implementing the markets and crypto assets rules. I know it's Coinbase has chosen Ireland as their base of operations for Europe, which is super exciting, great. But the MiCA regulation has a number of different restrictions, like the amount of daily active transactions and daily active amount of euros that can be transacted. I think it's like 2.5 million euros per day or 200 million transactions per day. The reason why that's interesting is I was sitting at DEF CON in Bogota last year, and as I heard this, I was like, this is going to have some implications for Panama. Panama is the largest country without central banking.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that fact, there's some other things that happened very recently, actually a few weeks ago. A couple of the legislative bodies in Panama passed a kind of an opinion piece that said that Panama was not going to restrict tokenized assets in any way until there's a crypto law. So this is one of the there's a number of real estate tokenization projects happening, and the people behind these projects have said, "Is there anything we need to do?" Nope. One of the things that's happened is my feeling back when I lived in San Francisco during the first Ethereum DAO was that this is an amazing opportunity to build a decentralized global computer. And, I was like, I'm from Panama. I'm a Panamanian citizen. And I have a strong interest in this. So, one of the reasons why I'm involved in the ecosystem is to ensure that there's a safe place for innovation. And I think that's just one of those things that's important about the space. I think, Ireland, Dubai, Singapore, Hong Kong, there's lots of different areas and countries that are playing an important role. And one of the things that's happened that really affects, I think, the innovation sector in the world is that the US has said that it's no longer interested in innovation by, in a number of different ways. So that's why Panama is super important to me.
That's great to hear, because it's fascinating from a UK perspective, where the UK is trying to position itself as a leading area in the crypto space. And it's fascinating because it's certainly got some great talent, but it hasn't got the right attitude for the regulator as yet. I'd say is the kindest way of describing it, whereby some of the politicians are going, "Oh yeah, crypto, brilliant. We love to support it and encourage innovation, blah, 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 blah." But when you look at how the regulator's operating, it's just introduced some new rules around marketing of crypto assets, which makes it very restrictive, that you have to be registered, which I still find funny in a way. I know it's related to the UK FCA has taken on the responsibility to be the supervisor for money laundering in crypto. So we have this weird situation where crypto is unregulated in the UK. However, if you are a crypto business, you have to be registered with the financial regulator to say that you're dealing in an unregulated instrument. It's like, that's a bit crazy. So you've got a regulator not regulating but controlling an unregulated product, and it's just bizarre. And that means that they're being quite defensive in nature in their ruling, shall we say, which isn't very competitor friendly. So that's where it's great, environments like Panama, and as you say, Dubai, the Gulf states, Singapore probably less so, because that's more aligned with the monetary authority of Singapore tends to play ball with the UK FCA and the Hong Kong monetary authority, and that the major authorities tend to be fairly much in lockstep in terms of the regulation. But yeah, it's the smaller states and the small places. So yeah, but Panama is always an interesting one. So it's interesting as well. You mentioned the DAO originally, because I always found that fascinating, that I describe blockchain and crypto evolution as a bit like aviation, that it's a little bit like how you started off with this biplane on a beach one day, which kind of took off and did a little hop, and then someone tries something different and it takes off and it crashes, and there's blood and guts and lawyers and ambulances, and then people introduce more rules and regulation, and then the next aeroplane takes off, and that's kind of okay, and they do some more things. I think crypto and blockchain is similar to that you go through these innovations which lead to crashes, which lead to blood and that kind of thing. I've always described that the DAO as probably being the first major plane crash of crypto, which gave actually a really good opportunity to learn. That's where it's fascinating how the community operated on that. In some ways, it determinedly didn't learn from it, but well,
There's still a lot of, there's a DAO standards working group, DAO One Star, or DAO Star One, I'm sorry, working on a reference specification for how to define DAOs on chain. That's a really good initiative. And there's a lot more experiments on DAO governance that are happening across multiple different chains. That's really great. We're still learning. And I involve myself in some projects that are trying to create some DAOs that are more geared towards real people. But meanwhile, there's coincidentally, one of the largest DAO treasuries is headquartered in Panama in a weird way. So the company's called BitDAO. They've just rebranded to Mantle XYZ. And they have a $1.9 billion treasury.
wow.
They're building on the Optimism technology stack to create decentralized games, decentralized education, and they have a $200 million ecosystem fund. One of the reasons why it's relevant to this conversation thus far is that it wouldn't be possible in Europe because of MiCA and these things. So Panama is a convenient place because of the Panama Private Interest Foundation structure to set up these types of entities.
Okay, yeah, it's fascinating because in some ways the concept of DAO with no centralized authority kind of works quite well with an anonymized type thing as well, I guess, where you don't need to know who is running it because it's everybody is running it. So, fascinating stuff. So we've just been joined by JT as well. Hey, JT.
Hi.
How's life with the blockchain equivalent of Zoom, as I would describe relays?
Yeah, it's going well. We just going to announce now the invite program. Yeah, invite rewards, all of that stuff. So people can. It's mainly to incentivize the community and to reward the community for supporting the project. Usual stuff.
Okay. And just to go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of work. Mainly.
Yeah. And a quick reminder: relays is I kind of think of it as a smart contract control blockchain based data sharing capability, where that data might be video, voice, or anything else. Is that a fair way of describing it?
Sort of.
You can say no. You can say no. You're completely wrong there.
It's a decentralized and the ambition is to be totally decentralized communications network. So being a version of Web3, Zoom, Google Meet, etc., WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, so anything really audio, video, and text. Yeah. We are aiming to be really the Web3 communications, a platform for everyone to use and integrate into their platforms, etc.
So, are you running it on your own blockchain, or are you using a proprietary one?
No, we actually totally separated infrastructure from anything related to blockchain. So our infrastructure is pure infrastructure. And the reason is because, when you do calls on Zoom and all the other platforms, it's their own network, their own servers. And you can possibly imagine what happens, on private conversations. And actually, they announced that, isn't it? I mean, it's no secret anymore, yeah? They have AI scanning everything. They scan all your video conferences, all of that stuff, happens everywhere. So we let the community run the nodes, yeah? Pure infrastructure to do the routing, provide the bandwidth, key management, and of course, get rewarded our token for doing that. On the other side, everything related to management of the calls, encryption. We actually moved encryption to on-chain, so that there's no more trust me, bro. Yeah, we have end-to-end encryption, which majority is actual BS. everyone knows about that. Yeah. So by moving the encryption to on-chain, it's fully verifiable. You don't need to trust it's happening there, So of course your identity is your wallet. You don't need registration, email, phone number, nothing like that. Plus, if you don't have a wallet, in 3 clicks, we create one for you. Yeah. Literally 3 clicks, 10 seconds. Your wallet is in your browser storage. It's as simple as that. So try to streamline as much as we can here. It's browser-based, no download, no installation. So make it easy for people to use as well.
Does that mean it's the equivalent of a trustless Tor network, in effect?
Yeah, you could say that. So the idea is really to provide the next generations of communication and collaboration tools. Yeah.
Okay.
We do a lot on video conferencing, on chat apps, collaboration and community building and all of that, sharing on Discord and Reddit and all of that stuff. So our aim is to decentralize all of that. So there is usual stuff. Look, do you know how I try to compare what Bitcoin has done for money? Yeah. Censorship resistant money, blah, blah, all of that stuff. We are doing for communications. It's pretty much the same, yeah? We just didn't want to bullshit people and say, hey, we need a blockchain. Actually, we do need a blockchain, but, our network, the separation of pure infrastructure from the rest, security, encryption, all of that stuff is quite important to do it, because you don't suffer if you do it. Having a multi-chain strategy means it's even much more efficient,
Cool. That sounds really interesting. I'm really looking forward to once we see this properly live and launched. Yeah.
No, you can use it now.
Well, I've tried it. You and I have chatted on it, so I know that the resolution of it's good. But I'm looking forward to seeing it more widely adopted as well, which would be fantastic.
And you can record calls now already.
Okay.
So.
And that's
same, Gary.
So that's locally you can record. So again. Yeah. It's fascinating stuff. I don't know if anyone's got any questions at that point for either Stephen or JT for that matter. Everyone's staying quiet. This is where Elena always stays quiet until right at the end.
Sounds very good.
Yeah. It's a fascinating area. So I don't know if anyone's been listening to any of the crypto or blockchain market news of late, things that are happening. I don't follow prices much, but I noticed that Bitcoin's rallying, and I presume that was because of the fake message that was put about an ETF or something, and there's various court actions changing, which again might end up having a bearing on the adoption of crypto, and so but blockchain as a platform. Anyone care to share any news or views or anything? See, this is where JT's normally been at a conference somewhere, so he's worn out because he's come back from somewhere. I know.
Actually, it's true. It is true. I just arrived today from Dubai, so yeah. Okay,
well, there you go. And I presume you weren't at Mobile World Congress in Rwanda this week.
No, I wasn't. There was a GITEX and Future Blockchain Summit, and there's lots of all sorts. It was a week full of conferences, basically, And
that was all in Dubai, yeah?
Yeah, it was all in Dubai.
Okay.
Quite huge. Yeah.
Yeah, that explains why all my social media feeds have got pictures of the Burj Al Khalifa, as everyone's obviously been out in Dubai for some reason, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. Cool. I don't know as well if anyone's got any other news with any of the legal developments that are going on at the moment, because it was interesting. Stephen was talking about MiCA before. So for those who don't know, that's the markets in crypto assets regulation that has been adopted kind of worldwide, really, because it links in with FATF, which is the Financial Action Task Force, which is the US, I can't remember, is it US Treasury to sponsor that? But it's all about traceability of assets, in this case, crypto. And they introduced a thing called the travel rule as well, which also means anyone who is operating a business trading in crypto assets, whether they're cryptocurrencies or crypto tokens or other things, you have to track, trace, and prove authenticity and legitimately of the source and destination. And they've extended it beyond just being the blockchain wallet address to actually companies having to do know your customer checking to link that to a physical thing. So with Panama's privacy rules, that must be quite interesting then, Stephen.
It's a non-factor. Panama's currently on the gray list, but I think there's some meetings going on where they're trying to get off that gray list for FATF. The issue with cryptocurrency specifically and central banking, I had a conversation recently with one of the superintendencia of banks. It's a private company. They're interested in blockchain technology. I had a conversation with the Latinx, which is the Bolsa de Valores, which is the Panamanian stock exchange. They are, following in what the country of Chile has done, is really use the Hyperledger open source technology stack as their IT stack. Panama is looking at how to bring blockchain technologies to better improve the Panamanian stock exchange so it can be operate more globally in potentially partnership with other stock exchanges globally. And yeah, all the things that you think might be possible in terms of, real world assets, tokenizations, maturing a financial framework, all those things are kind of on the table. The Chamber of Technology and Innovation and Telecommunications that I'm on, we have a number of different banks. Panama has over 90 banks, private banks. We have insurance companies. We have Visa. We have companies like Microsoft, KPMG, and others. So we try to keep an open mind. It's an NGO, so it's not a government thing. And what my company does, which is a separate thing, we try to work with the various ecosystem players and trying to figure out the space. So we're remaining very, very open to the blockchain space. We recently had a conference here where some of the folks in attendance were from the El Salvador ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And some of the nuggets that we've heard were that there's a lot of Bitcoin maximalism in El Salvador, which has prevented some of the more applications around crypto assets and the technology they're in. So I think we're trying to remain very open to everything in the space. And yet, to answer your question, yes, privacy is important in Panama.
Yep. Yeah. It's kind of interesting that there was something you were just saying there. I was thinking I must pick up on that. It's gone away. But yeah, it's fascinating how different countries are adopting different approaches and kind of playing to their strengths. And as you say, Panama has a reputation around privacy and extending that further. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But that was it. It was stock exchanges, because the one which was probably well known to most people in the space was the initiative by the Australian Stock Exchange, where they were going to deploy ASX on blockchain. And I think they killed that project off. I think it was about 6 months ago now, because they were a real leader. They were pushing ahead. I think they and was it DTCC or somebody were working on something. And the Australian Stock Exchange made an announcement a few months ago that they were no longer proceeding with the project. And I can't recall the exact details, but I think it might have been that the technology just simply wasn't quite at the level of maturity that they needed it to be. So it'll be interesting to see where Panama goes. So I know certainly ASX was one initiative, and I think DTCC were doing some work around that as well. And one of the other guys who sometimes joins us had previously worked at the London Stock Exchange, although I don't think it was on the, but they've been looking at blockchain as well as a technology, but I don't think it was on that. So,
I don't know if you,
go ahead.
I don't know if you know Jonathan Nelson from Hackers and Founders. He's advised the US SEC in the past, not with the current Gensler guy, but in the previous administrators. He's been exploring opportunities to co-listing tokenized projects on the London Stock Exchange. And I don't know where things are with that, but the London Stock Exchange seems very open. In Panama, one of my pet projects is, without getting too much into it, is creating a framework for organizations, a consortium of organizations to interoperate with each other across multiple blockchains, building on top of Hyperledger Firefly. It's a multi-chain supernode framework. It's something that, it's pretty interesting. It positions the ecosystem to build Web 2 plus Web 3 applications across any blockchain. It's pretty interesting stuff.
So what is, I'm not familiar with Firefly. I know about Fabric and a couple of the other things. So is Firefly an interoperability layer then?
So to give you some context, back in the day, during the dot-com era, some of the key technologies were application servers. I used to work for a company called Art Technology Group that developed a lot of the core technologies for application servers. And a lot of the personalization and e-commerce companies sprung from having this deep technology layer building blocks. And we're in this moment again with this new era in the blockchain space where we need to make it easy for users to manage their applications, their sessions, their personalizations, their wallets, their social login, all these types of things. And one of the things that's important when you're dealing with a blockchain application, let's say a Web3 distributed application, that's not just trading. Normal people need to be able to access it. And choosing which blockchain you use, be it Cardano, Solana, Ethereum, Polkadot, it's like going back to the days before the internet. It's choosing which local area network you're choosing for your technology stack. Most normal people don't need to know anything about that. I have a lot of experience in the infrastructure space, and fortunately for me in the ecosystem, there's a company called Kaleido that donated about 2 million lines of code to the Hyperledger Foundation's ecosystem. And this project is called Hyperledger Firefly. It's a modular framework to write Solidity code and smart contracts and APIs that have within its supernode structure a database, a messaging queue, an API framework, so that a bank or a regular company can plug in their stuff, or you can have a consortium of entities that want to interoperate with each other. Now you can do this for everything from healthcare to whatever you might want to do. And if you need to synchronize in a private blockchain, that's fine. Or if you want to talk to a public blockchain, that's fine. Or if you need to talk to a number of different blockchains on layer 1, layer 2, it's pretty impressive. Their core product, the Kaleido product, has this, but their open source version really creates an opportunity for organizations like banks that may or may not want to use like the cross-chain interoperability protocol from Chainlink to think about how they might want to build real-world applications. So I'm using the Panama ecosystems as a kind of a test case for some of these things. There was a Berkeley project some time ago, about 12 years ago, around a digital hub for the country of Panama. And I'm like, this looks really like a DAO. or a consortium of DAOs. And I've been kind of involved in trying to adapt the ecosystem for these types of frameworks without making it too onerous for adoption. And I think that's really important. So for me, we're doing this event called ETH Canal in March, where we're trying to create this roadmap between Web2 and Web3 organizations. And we're trying to make it into a big open source initiative for people to play into.
Okay, because I keep arguing that two of the really critical things in the blockchain space is, first of all, making it more easily accessible. But so people don't need to know about the underlying technology; they should just be able to plug into it. And then the other piece is interoperability. People often talk about the VHS and Betamax wars a number of years ago, and about which one was the best and all that. So in actual fact, it didn't matter if it was VHS or Betamax. The real winner was whoever it was who designed the SCART socket on the back of the TV. That meant you could plug any of them in, and that's what interoperability means to me. It's the fact you've got this standard and this ability to transfer between. So cool. That sounds really interesting stuff. So on the stuff that you're working on at the moment, then, is that like early stage that you're at, or you're live with it? Where are you at?
Yeah, so we're still mid-stage with it, and by that I mean convincing the ecosystem and some of the banks, which are all independent, to use this product and technology stack. That's really where the conversation starts. So last year we had a big hackathon with the Ethereum ecosystem event on the road to DevCon. And, the feedback from some of the universities and some of the institutions is that, Stephen, slow down, start from basics. So, I've been giving workshops in Spanish, talking to various other ecosystem players and getting people more and more comfortable. What we heard probably around 2 months ago, or rather a month ago, one of the university professors has told me that, previously they were a little nervous. They've seen the up and down cycles of the crypto ecosystem, but now the universities are starting to look at blockchain technology as important and relevant. Okay. So it's the adoption and is there. And one of the things that we've been doing, what I've been doing with my company is, and we specialize in, we're kind of like a blockchain studio. We've been chatting with the Inter-American Development Bank and some other entities that have some other interests. They have a project called LACchain, which is the largest permission blockchain in the world. There is some momentum, but getting to end users, and end users means getting soccer clubs, football clubs, we're working with one here where they're looking at building a DAO so that they can crowdfund some of their campaigns and some of the physical digital NFT marketplace campaigns and all these types of things. So as a US person, I sound like an American. I lived in the United States for a long time. It is complicated, and navigating the space around what is deemed a dealer broker activity and these types of things requires a little bit of diligence, let's just say.
Yeah.
So what I'm hoping to have done is have our ETH Canal event really be something that is owned by the community and maintained by the community. So I'm trying to gift back some software architecture into the ecosystem. And one of the interesting things that I don't know if you guys, everyone seems pretty global, so you may not have to contend with this, but if you're a US person, there's this weird thing that's changed in terms of innovation in the US that affects the world effectively. And that is that the IRS changed its treatment of research and development. There's a to change. It's IRS section 174. I can drop a link in the thing because it's super weird and super obtuse. But the short of it is that it used to be that companies, startups in the U.S. could deduct their cost of operating their businesses 100% in the year the costs incurred, any software development. But now it has to be amortized over 5 years for work done in the US or 15 years for work done outside the US. So what's happening is that a lot of innovation is being now done and owned by entities outside the US, maybe hiring back into the US. But one of the reasons why there's been a lot of these layoffs in the US is because they can't afford to hire people because they can't deduct the cost of operating. So innovation has left the building, and we're trying to welcome organizations, people that are trying to build on the blockchain space to do the development for non-US entities now.
Okay, it's interesting. I just popped it up and sharing it on the screen. It's interesting how they have to split it out over the 5 years to amortize it. Yeah, we have a similar thing in the UK. There's a thing called R&D tax credits, where effectively, if you can prove that what you're working on is innovative in some way and unique, then you can use that to cross discount the future taxes that you're going to pay. But the problem is with that a lot of times the companies who are developing this new and interesting technology are not the ones who've got big tax bills to worry about. And so actually having a tax incentive where it's that you get credits against your future tax bills just doesn't make any difference, kind of thing. Whereas it's the companies who are utilizing the technology that these companies are coming up with, who are the big banks and all this kind of thing, who do have the stuff where they like to discount. So yeah, it's interesting how tax quite often comes into play, not just in terms of paying it, but in terms of how companies can actually utilize tax breaks and grants and this kind of thing as well. It can make a difference.
Yeah, Panama has a territorial tax system. So anything that doesn't occur here, there's no tax for it. Again, another reason for decentralized organizations to be here.
Yeah. So does that mean if the actual work is done in a different country, there's no tax to pay on it?
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. Whereas other countries seem to declare that it doesn't matter which country the work's done in, we want our bit of the tax take. So, well, that's really fascinating and something a little bit different to learn about. Thanks for sharing that, Steve.
Yeah, I was listening and very interesting. But I go back to just a small observation. There's no such thing as a private blockchain. I heard you saying a few times private blockchain. It's just a DLT. Anything that is private is a DLT. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So a lot of people get confused because sometimes I make the same mistake. Sometimes I say it, then I have to go back because in our space sometimes we confuse other people that do not understand and are still learning. Yeah. And it's so important that we actually separate and educate people properly, which is what is a public chain. And yes, it is. Many of the public blockchains are not decentralized, as we know, yeah, because all of the people running the nodes sometimes take more ownership of the network than they should. But it is what it is. Decentralization is that we cannot control. Yeah. Right or wrong, I'm a true believer of decentralization, but we need to find another way. Otherwise, the people with money are always going to control who runs the nodes, if it's not decentralized enough.
I spend a lot of time thinking about this problem, and you're right. Alignment of incentives is super important. You're in the infrastructure space, you understand this. I think this is why we need to build lots of different solutions to all these challenges so that there's a lot of options for everyone.
It comes back to my aviation analogy. You need multiple aircraft companies who come with different ideas, because that way they get to discover, actually, is 3 wings better than 2 wings, or 1 wing? Are jet engines above the wing better or below? How do propellers work? Should we really do this? The whole thing about true innovation is that you need a variety of options. And it's like A/B testing a website, isn't it? You get to see which one works better, then you all cluster towards that. Then you do the next thing, and then you split and that. So, yeah, it's a fascinating space. So I thought JT was about to add something else there.
No, yeah, I agree, and look, we just need to understand it's still early days. Actually, if you think, well, I'm a bit disappointed already, because we're in 2023, 13, almost 14 years, isn't it? And we should be a lot further, because every time I look at all of the people that got like billions and billions to build tier 1 and tier 2 chains, and ZKs and whatever, yeah. I mean, we don't have one that is working still properly, We just don't, And it's so disappointing. I had this conversation actually this week in Dubai with several people, and either it's, things that don't work well, or they compromise on security for scalability, or, it's just nobody's actually managed to find a way to actually create a blockchain that is fast. And I know there's the 3 principles, of course, but, at least strike a balance that can actually give some fundamentals for people to build on. I know people that are struggling to decide actually where they're going to build next on, and we are one of those because we have a multi-chain strategy. Yeah?
We should talk.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's challenging, but the solutions are, as we're not in year 1 of software development, but applying software architecture design patterns to the blockchain space has been difficult because there's been a very rapid moving strata. And, I know you're in the Web3, in the WebRTC space. Some time ago, I had the opportunity to help GE Software at the research center look at how they were doing IoT technologies. They were a mess too. I think the blockchain space is challenged because there are not enough developers on any one thing. We have so many projects. We don't have enough talent. But there's a lot of hope, I think, in some of the things that are being built. The delays, I think, are in that we don't have enough experienced software developers and architects from the Web 1 and Web 2 days that have flooded into the blockchain space because of fear of some litigation, some things that have happened with some, the optics around being in the blockchain space. I think it's been risky for people, but I think as more people realize that, this is the way forward, we're going to get a lot more talent coming into the space. And we already have some really good primitives, like a lot of the work that's being done around layer 2 blockchains and beyond is really promising. We can talk a lot about some things that, like, I'm a little familiar with some networking technology. You're probably familiar with Zero Tier or the Scion network out of Europe and some other bespoke network scaling up applications. And, there's a lot of interesting things that can happen in the blockchain space to support these types of robust privacy layers and segmenting of traffic and all these types of things. These things are are doable today. It's just that what we need to be able to bother with these is real world adoption. We need the next, Spotify that benefits from being just decentralized. We need the best new social platform to use these tools. And I think what's happened in the last few months with account abstraction in the Ethereum space is, we have now the option of social login and account recovery and these types of things that's going to make it easier for real people to use these applications. We need to hide the blockchain. Like, nobody cares about if it's on UDP or TCP or this or that. Like, we're talking to real people. They don't need to know about the block.
Yeah, they need to 2 or 3 clicks and they are using a product on a daily basis. That's all they care. Absolutely, I totally agree. That's what we have done at Relays, trying to simplify, remove all the friction, so we can actually get to adoption. But then when you're gonna look under, the technology that we have to utilize on this multi-chain strategy, it is quite disappointing, and I love Starkware, for example, but I was even in Tel Aviv, like in February at that conference, great technology, but it doesn't scale. Nothing that is the case scales properly at the moment, And imagine having 1 million users on a platform every day, and generate 1 million transactions constantly, and they support 2,000 to 5,000 TPS, it's whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's quite challenging.
You can do. I mean, there are ways of doing it. I mean, this again.
Yeah.
I mean, like, have you looked at Hyperledger Firefly?
We're building on public blockchains only.
So one of the things that I would suggest is exploring Hyperledger Firefly. There, you can tie a messaging bus on a private chain. You can do high amount of transactions, and then you can roll those up and public to a public blockchain. So there's can.
The problem is that we don't want to do anything ourselves. We want to actually decentralize everything. So that's the purpose. Otherwise, we will be doing the same as Zoom, Google Meet, and whatever, calling ourselves decentralized.
Yeah. So have you had the opportunity to work with the optimism stack?
I'm not convinced yet by optimistic rollups.
Okay. Well, the OP stack does have on its roadmap ZK rollups as well. So you could you can use the Reth client from Paradigm, which is a more capacity, and you could build an optimism stack layer 2 that's optimized for performance. And there's some other interesting things that you can do around gaining much more performance. We could. I'm happy to chat with you if you want.
Yeah, let's talk. Not here now. I think yes, we should do that. Gary, can you connect us if you don't mind?
The easiest way is if either of you just want to hop a LinkedIn profile or something like that, stick that in the chat. That's the easiest way. And just while you're doing that, I think coming back to the point about how blockchain development's not happening at the pace that we're expecting, or adoption's not happening at the pace we're expecting. My thinking is that technology always does take longer than we expect. And you look at artificial intelligence right now, everything is about ChatGPT, or in fact, it's not anymore. That was 2 months ago. Everything's about generative AI now, and that's the thing, and everyone's adopting it, and there's all sorts of hype in that. But AI's been around since 1954, I think it was. So it's pretty close on 70 years old. And it's only now that it's beginning to get mainstream use case opportunities and adoption, that kind of thing. Again, it comes back to the aviation analogy. I've seen this time and time again. It feels a little bit like we're still on the 1903 Orville and Wilbur Wright beach, the name of which escapes me at the moment. and we're already saying, yeah, but that's not going to fly at 500 mile an hour with 600 people on it, is it? There's no future in it. You've been developing this stuff, guys, for weeks now. How come you've not got airliners? So these things take time. So I'm optimistic that whilst they take longer than we want them to, that they'll be good. I think, was it Bill Gates who's attributed with saying the thing about technology is that it always takes longer to introduce new technology than you'd expect, but the subsequent impact of it is far greater than you'd imagine as well. And I think that'll be the case with blockchain there. I describe blockchain, again, a travel analogy. It's like in the Wild West, where you had the gold rush days, and the gold rush is the crypto. And crypto went through the hype, the gold rush went through the hype. Everyone was looking to make loads of money. Most people didn't, but it left the railroads afterwards, and it left the schools and the houses and everything, which gave a new layer of infrastructure that other businesses built on. So I'm still hopeful that it'll come there. So there you go, guys. There's a couple of links in the chat there that you can reach out to each other. That's really useful. Just in the last few minutes, you only got 3 minutes left because I like to close this off. I don't know if anyone's got any other key points they want to raise at the moment.
Have you seen today? I think it was today. Somebody was sharing a link about Zimbabwe launching a token, a coin backed by gold. So it's a national. I don't think they call it a CBDC yet, but it's kind of an authorized token to be used across the entire country and backed by gold. Or maybe they named it CBDC. I don't remember, but I was just coming from the airport and I was quickly read that. I was fascinated, actually.
Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I know, because of the billions of notes that you can get.
I guess it's the whole thing that it is the countries that have got less stable, less well-used currencies that have got the least to lose, so to speak, with these kind of things. Because they actually announced something on that. I think it was back in May.
Yeah, it was in May. But I think this time is pretty much, that's it. It's done,
Okay. Well, let me just... you've got there's a crypto called ZWL.
It's the ZIG, Zimbabwe Gold. I think that's what's called the token.
Okay. Maybe something to go and take a look at separately. This is the thing. I can always rely on JT to throw in some quick scrabbling thing at the last minute. If I didn't know about that, what do you mean they've just launched a CBDC or something? So, okay, cool.
They call it a digital token. I don't think they are calling it CBDC, but it's accepted as a payment method, which is fascinating.
Okay. Well, I've just found a news report on it, so let me just share it here briefly. It says Zimbabwe new gold-backed currency. We'll quickly have a look at that. There you go. As you say, ZIG, new gold-backed digital currency named ZIG.
And it was done by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually have that much information in there. So, okay, maybe something to go and take a look at.
I will look at it as well today, but I'm fascinated by these things.
Thanks for sharing that. Well, look, folks, we're at the end of the day. It's the beginning of the witching hour, I guess. So time to sign off and say thank you to everyone who came along today. For those who are just listening, I hope they found that interesting as always. Stephen, particularly appreciate you sharing a lot of the stuff about the Panama perspective and lots of stuff that you're working on as well. And JT, thanks for sharing the last minute news and everything else you're working on. So we'll close off there. I'll say thank you for everyone for coming along today. Have a great day. I shall see you around, folks.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye all. Bye now.
Bye.